Okay guys, welcome back to the iOS tutorial, and I hope you did your homework, and I want to go ahead and go over the homework again. So you had like a function, pick your choice, start game. So we had like a function that we wrote for starting game and print start game, and that one was saying print pick a choice. So and then the say second player's change turn, change player, and then name, player changed to. And another thing I want to teach you is concatenation. So I want to go ahead, and concatenation means I'm mixing two types together. I'm basically gluing another type to another type. So the way you do it is you put this backslash. This is a forward slash and that's a backslash. So backslash and then parentheses open, parentheses close, and then you put the name. Now, you didn't need to do that in homework, but I'm doing it here just to. But you could have just in your homework you could just say player change to, and then just put another print, and then say name, like that, and it would have worked the same. But I'm teaching you a new concept, which is concatenation, where you just put in the name here, and you can do it with any kind of type. Alright, so you can do it with any kind of type, and so I just print name, change player to the name, and then after the player has to pick your choice. So pick your choice is called again, and what we can do is have the pick your choice always not have the name. Then we can return the name who's doing this thing. So we can say return string, and over here we need to do it like this because of the game. We'll learn a lot of new things with classes and everything, and you can do it more. But if you do it like that, so print change player, and then we're gonna also pick your choice, and then the change player, and end game, and lose game. There's also lose game, right? Print game lost, game over. And then we wanted to also say this one, say X. So player pick choice X. You gotta do like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the game and see what happens. Cannot convert because we tell it to return. So this is what you should be careful of, because now I'm returning a string, and you gotta tell it I'm returning string. Okay, so go ahead and run it. Starting game, pick your choice X, and now we need to change player. Print change player. So change player needs to return something to me. String, say player. So I can just go ahead and instead of printing it, I'll just return it. So that was the exercise. Like that. Change player. And the name is name. You can already know the name. Oh, it's a new thing. So Felix or something. So if you run start the game now, starting game, pick your choice, change player to Felix, ending game, and then we also say losing game. So after change player, maybe someone lost, lose game. So that's it. So basically this was kind of your homework, and you kind of work with returning types, and then you printed stuff, and then you also called other functions which are in a global scope, and you're in the local scope of start game, and you were able to see other functions, but you cannot see anything that is outside, right? You cannot basically see like name, right? Because name is in a global scope, but this is the reason you can see because yourself in the start game is also in the global scope, so that's why you can see other global scope. But that name is global, but you're in local here. So inside whatever in curly brackets you're in local, you cannot see the global, but you can see your own global. It's kind of confusing, but that you can see because you are the function itself is on global scope. So let's go ahead and discuss if and else statements. So we're gonna pick this, the same game, and we can say if is a condition. So say if name is equal to Felix, or we can say if the picker choice is X, right? Then print this, X was picked. Otherwise, else print Y was picked, something like that, right? O was picked. At the end, we're gonna have all the everything to actually create a game. All right, so that's O was picked. So you have X was picked, O was picked, and the reason, so we have if and else, right? If this, otherwise this. So that's what if and else is, and there's also you can do else if, otherwise, and you can have so many of this if you really want it. But there's also another thing that actually helps out a lot is switch. So let's go ahead and just finish discussing with if and else. So if, let's say you have a no age, right? Age is 26, and say if age is, another thing you have is operators. So operators are, so there's different kind of operators. There's operators less than sign, greater sign, then you have less than equal, greater than equal, equal is two equals, and then not equal, and we also have and then we have or, and then we also have exclusive or, but then we don't need to know that right now. But these are the most common ones. These are operators, and operators are in between if statements. So if age is less than 26, then you can enter, or something like that, right? You cannot enter. So you're putting an operator in between a variable and another variable. So it's basically what this is called a binary operator, because two variables are next to each other. That age is a variable and 26 is a variable. Age is basically you're comparing age to 26. It's a comparison, and so you have an operator in the middle. So it's a binary operator because it's working on two things, an age and 26. There's also a urinary operator, which are basically, so it says it's not equal. You can just say not age. So what that means is it's not 26. because we're so what I'm doing is I'm saying age is an integer, but I cannot use not on an integer, so this has to be a boolean. So I can just say false, true. So I also always starts at true, but then I'm saying it's not true, so now it's gonna go away. It will never execute, because if it's always true, it will never be false. So that's why it will never execute. So those are the variables, and you can use that in programming like a lot. And you can use, say, if this condition, then do this. You know, you can write programs now very, very nice. So I'm saying if name was selected as what was the name? I would say John, right? John. And another thing you do is you every time you create a if statement, you open a curly brace open and then close a curly brace. And inside the curly brace, and you still have this is again that scope issue. So anything that you put inside here, nothing inside outside can talk to it, unless you so you say let hello. I can access it inside here. Yeah, I lied. Actually, you can access it inside there, but there's other stuff that you can't. But if you put it outside, then you can access it, because you're allowing another global scope to a local scope, right? But this is not a local scope. It's more like you're creating an if statement. So if I say, okay, so what you can't do is if I say let name2 equals David. So I lied about that before, and name2 cannot be accessed. Why? Okay, now we're talking. So name2 cannot be accessed because you created it into another local scope. So every time you have a nested, so you have a nested local scope now, right? So this name can't be accessed because you are inside another curly brace. But you can again access it in a global scope, because this is global to the function, not to the class, which is the top level. So you have a kind of a hierarchy. So if I were to create another if name is Felix, and I say let name3 John, right? What do you think? Can I access name3 here? No, right? Because I created another local scope inside here where this guy cannot see it anymore. So whenever but if I put it up there, but I can access name2. Why? Because it's outside. It's not inside. So we'll discuss this if it's confusing later, but this is one of the very most important thing in programming, to make sure that you can access the variables. So let's go ahead and talk about if and else. So we got if else now. So we learned if else. Now let's go ahead and learn about switch. So one thing that you do is with if else is if, remember we have if name is, so you use the equal sign like that, is John, then print John, print name, otherwise print you have the wrong person, otherwise else if, remember we discussed else if, print you might have the right person. So you have that, and you can write a lot of else if for every condition. So if you have too many conditions, you use something called switch, and then you switch on the value. So you're switching on the name and you're saying case John, like that, and then you start another case. So each case is equal to an if else. So if you had more than 2 if else, then you would use switch David, and you can have a default, means like if any of this is not valid, what's the default? So if I say print you have the right person, and then print you have the wrong person, print no person has shown, something like that, and just so basically so you're testing it. So if I say run this program, so it said starting game and switch name, you have the right person because John started the game. So there you go. So it started with this and ran this, and it didn't run that because it was correct. So that's how it is. Whenever the case is correct, it won't run the other ones anymore. So it just escapes out of this case and goes back to, remember, goes here and returns the X. Pick your choice and returns. So it comes here, it executes this, comes to 19, prints this, and returns the X. Returns the X, and who's catching that? Because you have pick your choice, and print the X that it got from pick your choice. So that concludes our discussion of if and else and switch statements, and also talking about basically how to do concatenation. So I want to give you another homework. So you had that game, so go ahead and expand the game and make it so you have switch statements, and if the player is a different player, then say you cannot enter the game, or kind of use your imagination and try to create a kind of like a tic-tac-toe kind of game, and say like if X is chosen, and then if O is chosen, and kind of like make it actually a game, where now you can actually make it a game. You have, functions, if statement, switch. So the player chooses X, and then it's the next player's turn, and then it chooses O, and then if X if it's diagonal, remember it has 3 X's, so if the player chooses X and the other player has an edge or chosen X, so you kind of understand what I'm talking about. Create the game actually if you can, and use switch statements and use if statements, and whenever necessary, you have everything. You have all the tools right now to be able to program. I'm very happy that we've reached so far, and next session was going to be about classes, and that's it. And after that, we're going to start working on our to-do list. So next session is going to be about loops and classes, and that's it. Thank you.